I'm Nick, and this is one of the most requested motherboards that we've seen in a very, very long time. Well, at least you guys have been asking us for it. This is the MSI MPG X870i Edge TI Evo Wi-Fi. That's an absolute mouthful, and yeah, you know the rest. Let's take a bit of a closer look and see what has changed on this board since we first saw it pop up at Computex earlier in the year. Yeah, let's do a motherboard ting.
This video is brought to you by VIPSCDKey.com. Have you ever installed Windows 11 only to see the watermark of death? You don't need to fork out a couple of $100s for a key. You can grab one from today's video sponsor, from VIPSCDKey.com for a tenth of the price. You can use our code GEAR to get 30% off for this month only. How good is that? That takes that already cheap Windows 11 key and makes it even cheaper. It's easy as placing your order. Bingo bango. You've got your new key on your orders page. You chuck that key into the activation screen and you're good to go. No more watermark of death. Use code GEAR to get 30% off for this month only. Link in the description. On with the video. Back to you, Nick.
All right, here it is. The MSI MPG X870i Edge TI Evo Wi-Fi. Wow, that is an absolute mouthful. Let's get that motherboard out of the way so we can take a little bit of a closer look at everything that comes with this very interesting Mini ITX motherboard. First of all, we've got this little add-in card. This add-in card gives us all of the extras that we need to get your system up and running. We'll come back to that in a moment, but essentially it has the SATA port, it's got a USB Type-C header, it's also got another USB 3.2 Type-A header that connects to the USB Type-C connector. It's a bit confusing, but we'll cover all of that in a moment as well. There's also the included antenna for the built-in Wi-Fi 7. There's all of the documentation and stickers that you're going to need to get your system up and running. This is great for people who have built many times or who have never built before. It's just a good, quick reference guide. There's also one of these easy connect cables. Essentially what this is MSI has a new header on the motherboard that's a combined 3-pin 5V addressable RGB and PWM fan connection. This is the additional USB 3.2 Type-A header that I was talking about. It's on a cable that plugs into the add-in board, which we'll talk about very, very shortly. There's an included USB flash drive. This typically has all the chipset drivers and any other software that you're going to need to get your system up and running in Windows. This replaces the CDs that we used to get back in the day. There's this front panel extension cable. This just makes it easier to plug in all of your front panel wiring so you don't have to try and fiddle around on the surface of a Mini ITX motherboard when it's in your case. There's also a set of SATA or SATA cables for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your 3.5-inch hard drives. And finally, there's a set of these little screws here. These are for the 3 M.2 slots on this board, which we'll talk about in just a moment. All right, let's unsheath the Edge TI Evo Wi-Fi and give you a little bit of a closer look at what's going on with this board, because I got to be honest with you guys, it's pretty interesting. First of all, tucked into the corner, we've got a front panel audio header. On the mezzanine card, there's a 3-pin 5V addressable RGB header. There's a USB 2.0 header for legacy things like RGB controllers and liquid coolers. And then there's the front panel header for all your lights and all your switches right below the DIMM slots. On the top edge of the board, there's the easy connector header. There's 3 PWM fan headers, as well as some headers for the sensors that you can add to the board, and then an 8-pin EPS power connector. On the right-hand edge, there's also a 24-pin power connector, and you'll notice there's 2 DDR5 DIMM slots and another slot, which we'll come back to in just a moment. Don't worry, guys, we're getting there. This one is for that little add-in board, and it has another cool little feature on it, which we'll get to in a sec. But as far as RAM compatibility, I'm going to guess that this will support up to 128 gigs of DDR5 memory, and we're going to say around 8,000 mega transfers, because that's kind of the sweet spot with these type of boards. There's a single PCIe slot on this board. It's a full by 16 size slot, and it's PCIe 5.0 or PCIe Gen 5, whichever one you want to call it. As for the VRM layout on this board, it features an 8+2+1 phase setup with 110 amp smart power stages. You'll also notice that on the top of the I/O cover, there is an intake for the fan. That's right. This has an actively cooled VRM layout, which, to be honest, is pretty common on Mini ITX motherboards with these type of specifications. Given that this board is an AM5 board, it does have a pretty standard looking AM5 socket. It also has factory cooler mounting brackets as well. Let's pop that socket open just in case you've never seen what one of these looks like. We do this to give you a bit of a look at what's going on inside the socket. You have to remember, guys, a lot of people that watch these videos have never built a PC before. And even if you have, this is what it looks like. All right, let's get to the fun bit though. We do have this add-in card, which I talked about a little bit earlier. It's got those 2 SATA ports on it, as well as that USB Type-C connector, which is for that additional USB 3.2 Type-A cable and a USB Type-C header. But that's not all that's going on here, right? So again, this is a slot where this card slots into. It only goes in one way. It's like installing RAM. You just slot it in, push it down, and it locks into place. But the most interesting thing is not even on this side of it, which we're going to come back to in a moment. Don't worry, I'm holding out a little bit because when we flip the board over, you'll notice that there is an M.2 slot on the back. There's a little bit of a backplate retention system for the VRM heatsink and a regular AM5 backplate for the socket. This board also has a 12-layer PCB, which it kind of needs because of the density of all of the hardware. But let's get to the good stuff. So first of all, there's this massive heatsink. It's a single finger to release it. This is a PCIe Gen 5x4 M.2 slot, right? And then if we flip the board over, as I mentioned, there's another PCIe Gen 4x4 M.2 slot. However, on the back side of that add-in card, there is another PCIe Gen 4x4 M.2 slot, meaning this board has a total of 3 M.2 slots. However, it is slightly different to the one that we saw at Computex. For rear I/O, we've got an HDMI 2.1 port. We've got 5 USB 10 gig Type A ports. I like that they just say 10 gig and not whatever generation they are. There's also 2 USB Type C ports. Both of these are 40 gig USB 4 ports, and they also support DisplayPort Alt. There's also a single USB Type C 10 gig port, as well as 5 gigabit Ethernet, the antenna connectors for the Wi-Fi 7. There's a BIOS flashback button, a clear CMOS button, and a line out jack, a mic jack, as well as optical/SPDIF audio.
What's this?
All right, hope you guys enjoyed taking a little bit of a look at this board and kind of getting an idea of what's changed. Now for me, visually, it was the changes that I noticed first, especially with the board that we saw at Computex had all black slots and connectors, and even the retention system was all black. Now it's all white. This still is a pre-production sample, so it's not the retail version of the board. The only difference between this one and the retail one is the SATA ports on this one are black and the retail one is white. But yeah, other than that, it's exactly the same board. What's really good to see is the fact that we're seeing lots of really interesting ITX boards for all the small form factor enthusiasts now. The only feature I think is lacking, and man, I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but 10 gigabit Ethernet. We just need to see it on an ITX board. That would make this board a no-brainer for someone even like me. The fact that it doesn't have 10 gigabit Ethernet, it's kind of designed at this inflection point where the 10 gig chipsets got really cheap, and it was kind of on the cusp of all of that. I think in the next series of boards from MSI, and basically everyone across the board, we'll start to see 10 gigabit Ethernet trickle down into boards of this size. Let us know if that's something that you're hanging out for, and let me know if you're sick of me talking about 10 gigabit Ethernet on motherboards. To me, very, very important feature. Maybe you don't care, but you know, it's my channel, I care. Hey, let's be real for a second. This channel exists because I love tech. Right? That's the whole point of it. It's what I like. And it's what you guys like, and I'm sharing what I like with you guys, and I hope you like me because I love you guys. You know, Rob messaged me yesterday and he said that It's a specification, not a recommendation. He says that stuck in his head every time he watches one of our videos now. So bloody should be, mate. I guess for me, at least, when it comes to ITX boards, I really love when they pack heaps of features onto boards of this size. To me, it's incredible that they can make all of the text so small and give it so many features, especially when you think of the logistics of it all with an entire socket on something this size. Think about this for like 1 second, right? This will put this entire board into perspective for you. The Asus X870i board had to have all of the front panel stuff on a separate thing that plugged into the board. They couldn't even fit all the features on a board like this, and MSI has managed to do it just by adding this add-in card. The Asus board has one of these and something else to do it. So I gotta say, good work MSI. Yeah, this board is looking fantastic. The final thing is, and it's a comment I've been seeing pop up a lot, and I saw this on our Computex coverage of this board as well. Are we getting a black version? I gotta be honest with you guys, for ITX boards, especially when you're jamming it into a small form factor system, I don't think it matters what color the motherboard is because you're never going to see it. It really does not matter. I don't care what color it is. To be honest, I think white's better because when you're getting into the nooks and crannies in your building and you don't have a well-lit environment, it's easier to see a white motherboard in a small form factor case and where the headers are rather than a black void that's just in your case. So yeah, I think white is just a better option for it. Whether or not you like the aesthetics of it, it really doesn't matter because you're never gonna see it. As for the pricing and availability, guys, this is where it's interesting because a lot of the time with MSI boards, especially these ITX boards, we don't know what the pricing is and we don't know when it's going to release, but except that we do know what this is because MSI came in clutch at the last minute just as I hit render, and now I've got to re-render the video really quickly. The price is $399 US and it'll be available in November 2025. There's the answer. I am allowed to show you the board, if that makes sense. Yeah, like it's kind of one of those things where it's like, hey, here's this new board. We're going to send it to you. Check it out. But that's it. Which is, it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it. I really like these kind of boards and we're going to build with this one coming up very, very soon. I've got something spicy I want to do with it. Mwah, chef's kiss. Good work, MSI. Nailed it.